Welcome, this is Kenneth Nnoll for Native Flix on location, and we're live at the Gallup Film Festival. It's amazing. It's a film festival that has grown over the last 6 years, and if you see the program this year, it's got some very, very good films. But better than that, it has the filmmakers. And film festivals are about filmmakers. It's about actors, the people that participate in making the films. And it's about the filmmakers reaching out to their fans and their audiences. I'm really happy to be here because I have Wes Studi and his lovely wife who are here to promote a film, but more important here, they're here to promote filmmaking, right?
Absolutely.
I know that you are a filmmaker and you're an actor, and you've been in the process of learning filmmaking, or in the art of filmmaking, not learning. You're a master, a mentor. How far has film evolved for Native Americans?
I'm glad you asked that question, but first of all, I'd like to introduce you to my wife. This is Maura Dhu Studi, and we've been together a number of years, and I think I learned a lot about filmmaking from Maura Dhu.
Wonderful.
Anyway, so Wes and I met, something like 30 some odd years ago.
Yeah, we did. Probably toward the end of the 1980s, at about which time I think I was in a film called Powwow Highway.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first actual feature film.
Right.
That I had worked on. I had worked in on stage and then educational television and PBS kind of television. My actual first film was The Trial of Standing Bear, which was a PBS special sometime in the 80s. But what led me to do that was working on stage with none other than the late Will Sampson. We did a play called Black Elk Speaks in Tulsa, Oklahoma, back in 1984, I think it was. And amazingly enough, we also had David Carradine in that play, as well as a number of actors from both New York and Los Angeles joined us on stage there. And that was actually my first paying gig, to tell the truth. But after a few of the educational and Trial of Standing Bear, I thought the only thing to do at that point was to go give it a shot in the big town, Los Angeles. And at the time, there were maybe less than half a dozen names that you could recognize in terms of having worked film and or television in LA. And I think that it's greatly improved to this point because, we can recite off names left and right practically now. The number of actors that are working in front of the camera, but there are also many working behind the camera as well. So yeah, we're moving along. I think that young people are becoming involved in the process of making film, and when you think back on it, it's an odd thing because we have been the subject matter since day one of filmmaking. I mean, the first film ever made by the guy who invented the camera was that Edison?
Edison, yes.
What did he shoot? He shot
Indian Day School.
Indian Day School.
Right, exactly.
That's right.
And from then on, we've always had a peripheral part in so many film. And at this point in time, the Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences, AMPAS,
right,
is considering or they plan on putting together a museum. And later next week, Maura and I, as well as our partner Chris Hare, we are going to present to the Academy's committee on the museum our idea that Native Americans, American Indians, us Indians, should be a part of that museum.
Absolutely.
And we've done enough research now that I think they'll listen and include our portion of what's made film what it is today.
I had an opportunity to judge some of the IAIA films this year, the students, and what amazed me is that a lot of the students are now making horror films, for example, where 7 out of 11 were horror films. But it's from a whole different perspective, whole different view. I think Native American filmmakers have a vision to share, and it's a vision that hasn't been shared. And I think the Mexican filmmakers like Del Toro and them, they came and started doing that. And I'm just waiting. There's so many talented filmmakers. I'm waiting for someone to emerge. And how would you encourage viewers and people who are not in the filmmaking community to push this agenda?
Well, support, of course, is extremely important, and interest, support, as well as involvement. I think that I don't know how many meetings, conferences that come up with the idea that the final conclusion is always, well, we have to make our own film. Well, that talk has been going since the first time I went out to Los Angeles, and I'm sure it had been going on before then as well. But I think that over the years, our young people have gotten tired of hearing us say that and not being able to do something about it. I have the opportunity, I believe it's toward the end of the month, when NIGA, National Indian Game Day, has a group of people who have something they call a challenge, wherein it's sort of like Shark Tank, I think, in my view. Present to them your idea. Well, we have a film that involves a huge amount of Native American cotton. We have many, many films, just like you've come up with the idea of Native Flix. That's a wonderful thing, because that's one venue that's a brand new thing. I mean, and I congratulate you guys for coming up with the idea of doing this, because we have no venue, right? We have no venue, we have no distributorship, and that in itself is the only thing that is going to drive us to continue to become more a part of the filmmaking industry.
And I think technology has come to the point where a filmmaker can make a movie with their iPhone. And then the distribution has come to the point where we can compete with Netflix. We don't have the capital to necessarily to get all the content right away, but we can put the content up there, and it's the same technology they use to deliver the content to your phone or to your television or to your computer. And the youth are so smart. It just amazes me.
And technologically more savvy than certainly me.
You have the technology side. How do we encourage the creation of stories? How do we encourage how our filmmakers put stories together.
One of the important things that I see is that young filmmakers need to understand, though, that there needs to be a script. And you need to know how to find a good story and then tell it on film, but in a way that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and really tells the story. So I think one of the skills I think that young people need to develop is editing skills, because that's part of shaping the story, and then also writing skills, to write a screenplay. There's a lot of talented young people that know how to use cameras and shoot a film, but you have to have the shaped content before you start.
Yeah, and
As well as you have to know how to put it all together. You need to know how to break down a script. You need to know how to produce. You need to know how to do so many things in pre-production before you head out to actually do the glamorous part of shooting a film. But there's so much to learn, and I think that we need to learn the producing end of it all.
what's your favorite film?
I like the producers.
The producers. What's your favorite film?
Well, that's one of my favorites too.
Producers.
I like Last of the Mohicans though too.
Oh, of course.
That's a timeless film.
We only have a few actors in New Mexico, and someone killed Val Kilmer in a film. Someone shot him.
I missed it. I mean, I only wounded him, and I'll never live that down.
Oh, it was so great. It was like, there he is. He's shooting the only actor, one of the few actors we have in New Mexico. In the movie Heat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Well, thank you.